Hey Harmonizers, welcome to this video with Mustang Stewie. Here's a little update of what he's doing, and that's Ryan that's working with him. So Stewie is a Mustang that I brought home last year towards the end of the year, so he's still pretty new out of the holding pens and being feral. And I did his first part of taming, so if you want to check out those videos, they are earlier on the YouTube channel, and you can see taming him, getting him where I could touch him, and we got the halter on and started leading. And then once I got to that point, I had the opportunity to bring Cadbury home, which I was pretty excited for. And Ryan said she was really excited to work with a Mustang and she'd be happy to take over putting some more time into him. So she is the one that actually taught him to pick up his feet. So pretty awesome that she's demonstrating here, being able to pick up his feet as well as putting the saddle pad on him. So that she's been working on that. So she's been doing horse training for a long time now. She's got a lot of experience training horses, but this is the first Mustang that she's doing first with. And taming a Mustang is different than training a domestic horse because Mustangs tend to have more of a fear response and a flight response, and so they need a little bit more time to figure out the trust piece. So when they're saying, "Oh, I don't know," and no, it's usually because they're just not sure about trusting, and they're usually scared. Versus when you're working with a domestic horse, sometimes the no can be they're not motivated or they don't understand. It's a whole different thing. Whereas with Mustangs, generally it's just more about going a little slower, being really friendly, really reassuring, allowing them time to think and process all of those pieces. So this is pretty great. Ryan's showing like rubbing on him and how he's actually starting to enjoy rubs now, whereas before he'd be a little bit kind of standoffish. She's showing getting him to move away from pressure, and that's important that horses learn the difference between being asked to move and then touching for the sake of just being friendly. Now, as she's doing this, you can see there's other horses coming into the arena for riding and stuff like that, and he's doing well with the other people. And she's got the long rope on. Whenever we're working with Mustangs, we tend to use a longer rope just so that way if they do get overwhelmed and they need more space, that we're able to give that to them. And so here she's going to ask him to come and walk forward. You might be wondering, what's going on with his shoulders? Well, that was just a blanket rub on his shoulder because the blanket was just essentially rubbing. It got really rainy one night, and then kind of the mixture of the rub with the wetness caused it to have a little bit of a rub there. It is all growing back, so nothing really too concerning there, just something different. But it was important for Stewie to wear blankets this winter because where he came from, it never got like -20, what it does here in Canada. And he really didn't have a fluffy coat. It wasn't that he was too skinny or something like that, but he didn't have the fluffiness, like his coat didn't really come in. And that's just because from where he was, his body's not conditioned to the cold, which happens to people too. If you live in, let's say, southern Florida, your winter time, when you come up and it's really only just around kind of freezing temperature, that's really, really cold to them because they're used to having such heat. Versus if you have a Canadian who's used to -20, -40, and then we go south and it's around freezing, we're like, oh, phew, if it's warm, we can like be in just a sweater and no coat. And so we adapt based on the temperatures we're used to. And Stewie hadn't adapted to Canadian winter and he needed his blanket. And unfortunately got a little rub there, but we've changed that all. So ever since this video, we put different blankets on him, tried to give him time with no blanket on the days when it was sunny. And so it's all grown back. Nothing to be worried about with what's going on with him there. And his training's going really, really well. And Ryan doesn't have a lot of consistent time because she has her own horse. She does lessons, job, all that kind of stuff. So his sessions can sometimes be just once a week. And then times when we have bad weather and things like that, he even goes a full week with no training sessions. However, because he is doing really well with daily grains, so our staff with feeding, he still has human interaction, which is a good thing to just kind of keep that a little bit of consistency with seeing people and associating good thoughts because he's getting his dinner. And here you can see walking over the raised poles, that stuff kind of going well. And then he actually really enjoys going over some of the bridges and the different obstacles and things like that. But I love how round his hind end is there. He looks like he's got such a lot of athletic ability, I guess, if you will. Like, I think he's going to be, in the future, he could be a really great little jumping horse, or really good with just being kind of versatile. You can see he's going over the bridge there, and he's really enjoyed doing that kind of stuff. And so as we get into the summertime, we'll probably be looking to see if we can find a new home for Stewie to continue his training, because Ryan's done a lot of great work with getting him used to the saddle pad, the girth, even some long lining. So I'll show you that little clip towards the end of the video. And then as we get into the summer, Ryan doesn't have as much time as she did over the winter time. So just for him to be able to continue with his training, that'd be really great for him. And then I've already got Cadbury that I'm working with, so I'm already a little bit busy. So it'll be probably something that we're working on. Here, this is pretty cute, asking him to trot over the poles. And he's like, I'm going to slow down and walk and just space out my feet there. And then he was like, I'll just hang out over this last little pole. And I thought, I'll still include this little clip in here for you guys to see that sometimes when they get stuck, I'm not always sure what causes them to get stuck. It could be that this is something that they were working on, stopping over a pole. So he's like, hey, isn't this the answer to get a cookie? Or it could be that something's distracting him, or who knows what it is. But you can see Ryan's just kind of patiently persistent, kind of nudges him a little bit. And then she goes up and gives him a few little pets afterwards to let him know. And of course, cookies sometimes for when they're doing really good stuff. You can see he gets his little cookie there, and you can see how patient he is as well. So we insist on having good manners around food, because food definitely speeds training. But if you're not careful, they can become little cookie monsters. So it's good to be careful with that. So here is him now showing a little bit of his lunging work. So he's doing really well with that. And he's wearing a saddle, which is pretty exciting with the girth and everything. So it's great that he's getting comfortable wearing that. And we do everything pretty slowly, one step at a time, where we try to make sure the horses are really relaxed and understanding with one task before we move on to the next one. And it's okay if we spend, a couple weeks just repeating the same step over and over again, because overall then the horse is going to move even easier into the next step. And so this is looking really great, and I'm pretty excited to see how he progresses into the future, because he seems like such a sweet little Mustang with a lot of athletic potential. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and check out harmonyhorsemanship.com for even more learning.